Hi there guys, it's your boy Sol, aka the Bodybuilding Banker. Today I'm going to show you the 5 steps to get into investment banking. So today I'll be drawing from my experience of kind of recruiting to get into investment banking. I've been fortunate enough to do internships at some of the biggest investment banks, for example Goldman Sachs, and coming especially from a non-traditional background. I think it's important I share my story and show you guys how I actually got into investment banking and what I think is important in the recruitment process. I'd say the first and most important step is to actually do your research and figure out what you want to do. So that just means understanding the different opportunities within investment banking. Investment banking spans over a wide array of different opportunities, but essentially it's broken up to back office, middle office, and front office. And as you would guess, for example, front office is the main revenue divisions. For example, I work in mergers and acquisition and as an investment banking analyst in a sector team. And that's one of the divisions available. That's where, like I said in previous videos, where we advise companies on different opportunities within the M&A space, as well as raising capital. But also another front office might be sales and trading. So this is selling equities and other financial instruments to investors. One important thing to note is actually there's 2 main routes to enter investment banking. One as an analyst and one as an associate. Generally, it's probably easier for you guys to enter as an analyst. The way investment banks work, especially with the large bulge bracket investment banks, is that they have an analyst program available after they have an internship. So the internship will generally be 10 weeks over the summer. And if you perform well and they like you, they give you a job offer. Some people can go in full time, but that's a lot more difficult. But it's really, really important for you to A, have experience, and B, to also really smash your interviews, because ideally the people who have done the summer internships are likely to take the spaces, so there's less opportunity. Now to go to the associate, if you are in another career path such as an engineer, a teacher, or even Navy SEAL, you have an opportunity to come in as an associate. And generally you do this through the MBA program. And what this gives you is the opportunity to use some of the skills you've got in your other career path and to come into investment banking. So for the analyst program, I would probably say within the UK at least, the majority of candidates come from top institutions. So investment banks like to look at what you call the target six. They tend to be Oxford, Cambridge, Warwick, UCL, and LSE. But to be honest, I've seen a lot of people come from a wide degree of universities. So I wouldn't say that that stops you, but it helps to go to a Russell Group university, because that's where most of the bulge bracket banks and also the elite boutique banks come and recruit. So it's a lot easier. They actually come to your campus and look for you, and you have the opportunity to actually network with individuals at the banks, which would actually help your application. Again, this is not to say if you're outside the target six or outside the Russell Group, you can't get an opportunity in investment banking. I've seen so many stories of really, really smart candidates that have managed to land great roles at top investment banks. But I think the key thing for you guys is to have experience, because most people coming in at these target universities all have top grades and potentially know some of the investment banks. So having experience and showing real commitment will definitely help put you forward. So in terms of the timeline for analyst programs, I think it's important to know about Spring Insights. These are highly undervalued, but I think they're very important in application. This is normally an insight week in where you have the opportunity to go to the investment bank if you do get on it and meet the individuals and learn about the key decisions. If I go back to my time at university, I'll probably say that was really important, because I wanted to go into banking, but I don't think I really understood what it entailed. I didn't know much about the divisions, and it's important for you to know about the different divisions, because you can see where your skills are best suited. So often the question you always get, and make sure you prepare for, is why investment banking? You can't say because of the money, although like everyone knows, investment banking does provide a very lucrative salary, especially if you're 21, 22 coming out of university. But yeah, going to the Spring Insight, you're able to meet different people, network, and actually use their names in your applications, and also find out why they got into investment banking, how their experience is like, because it's important for you to make a very informed decision about what you actually want to do. The reason why I'd advocate for going for spring internships as opposed to going for summer internships or graduate roles full-time is because with a Spring Insight, you generally get to meet the people, and people often forget, although it's, put across as this lucrative industry. It's a people industry. It's really people at the end of the day. And if you're able to make a great connection with a person, they're likely to remember you or go above and beyond and actually push forward. And that's something, now I'm on the other side, I actually see that most people that I meet, if they make a really good impression, they're really keen about the industry, they ask lots of insightful questions, I myself and a lot of my other colleagues will actually try as much to put their name forward, and it just makes it easier for the interview process. You know, interviews can vary from very technical questions. These are questions in relation to the markets or the division you go in. But if you're likely to have met the person before, it can just generally be a chat. And you know, if you have a personal relationship, you're likely to get put forward for the summer internship. So I would say in the UK, roughly around 80% of full-time offers come from the summer internship. So say if you perform well in the spring internship and they like you, the following summer you'll be invited to do a 10-week internship or 9-week at some other banks in the division of your choice. And this is where you get the opportunity to have real life work experience to see whether A, if this is the job for you, and B, it's whether you like it. And in my case, I work in the investment banking division. You'll often get the opportunity to work on real life projects, take on real responsibility, and it's an opportunity for you to make an informed decision as to what you want to do going forward. You don't necessarily have to go through the spring insight week. You can go directly to summer internships. But if you think of it logically, the spring insight week, they allocate some spaces to the spring insights because they've met them before. So the summer internship tends to be a bit more competitive. You tend to go to large assessment days. Now, these are days in which a bunch of university students are invited together, and there's often a bunch of numerical tests, verbal tests, interviews. And it can be really difficult if you haven't leveraged that experience of meeting the people before. So I would say, if you can, guys, do your best to get into a spring insight. But don't worry if you haven't. A summer internship is there. You just have to work harder. And that's something that a lot of my friends done, and now they're thriving in the industry. So generally, the spring insights normally take place in your first year of a 3-year course or second year of a 4-year course, with the aim of converting and doing a summer internship. And this summer internship will be in your penultimate year, and this will be a 10-week internship in whichever division you've decided to go into. And that's the real opportunity to get live experience into what the day-to-day job is like and to make more of an informed decision. So for me, I'm in the investment banking division. I did a spring insight, but I actually joined another investment bank as a summer analyst. And what was awesome was that I actually got real life experience on deals and got to experience what the job was like. And if you perform well, you manage to land a job so that when you come back in your final year of university, you're stress free, you can party, and you can know you're going to an investment banking job upon when you graduate. Obviously, I understand it is quite competitive to get in investment banking, and some people won't even land a spring internship, summer internship, or even a full-time role straight away. And there's still some avenues you can enter. The two that come to mind is either the master's degree. So say if like you're 1, 2, or even 3 years out, if you do a master's degree, particularly in a finance related course, especially if you come from a non-traditional background such as engineering or languages, the finance degree A gives you an opportunity to apply to investment banks, but B also gives you an opportunity to learn about the fundamentals and principles of finance so that you come across better in the interview and you obviously understand what the job entails. The second, and that's more of a less common route, is actually doing an internal transfer. So this would be working in, say, the back office or middle office function of investment bank with the aim of building a rapport, building experience, networking, which I'll go on to talk about further on in the video, and then do an internal transfer into a front office division. But like I said, these two roles are quite difficult, so I'd advise you to go through the first ones I mentioned earlier. Say, however, you're a bit older, you've actually gone into a different career path, let's say teaching, but you're really interested in investment banking, there's still an opportunity for you to enter. You'll enter in as an associate, so this is a level above an analyst. And generally, the avenue for which you do this is through an MBA program. This is a Master's in Business Administration. So this generally is a 2-year program in which you learn a lot about general business. But the good thing is it gives you an avenue into investment banking. And it's great because you're able to leverage some of the skills from a different career path. And one of the most interesting ones I've actually seen is a Navy SEAL come into an investment banker role. So just to summarize this section, it's really talking about how to enter in investment banking, either as an analyst and associate, and also importantly to understand the different divisions so that when you get the question, why investment banking, you know your story and you know why you want to enter. But one thing I wanted to signpost is that if you're a lot older, say in your 30s or even older 40s, and you wanted to enter investment banking, I would say make sure you do your research and understand the different roles. Investment banking is a rewarding career, but it's also quite high pressure and you work quite long hours. And then imagine if you're around, the mid 30s and the 40s and you have a family, it might be quite difficult to go into a role which takes a lot of time. You work up to 80 hours a week, can be quite stressful. So I'll just keep that in mind, but it's still a great career path if you want to enter. So one of the biggest tips to help your CV stand out is to get experience. This could be at other boutique investment banks, this could be at investment managers, this could be at any other finance related role, it could be at private equity. And the reason is because experience really shows two things. It shows your eagerness to learn and understand the fundamentals of the job, and it also shows that you're able to handle the demands of the job. The reason is because investment bankers tend to be quite conservative when they're recruiting. This is because generally, if you're going into this sort of role, you'll be working 70, 80 hours possibly if you're going to M&A. And one of the key things is people want to know, A, if you can handle the demands of the job, but also if you have competence and you can get along with people. And I think experience is one of the best indicators. One of the avenues, although some people don't really like it, is through cold calling. Now, LinkedIn is a great social media network in which you can reach out to colleagues like myself who are in investment banking. And literally just sending an email, asking for a coffee is a great way for you to meet people who are in investment banks. And like I said previously, these people are able to give you a real honest overview. And if they really, really like you, they can help your application and put you forward. But I wouldn't say when you go and meet these people, you try, your agenda is for them to push your application. I think just go in, be genuine, ask questions, because a lot of people do it. And if they like you, they'll definitely put you forward for the role. The last tip would be just attending any insight days, speaking to people, going through any case study competitions, just to show your commitment to investment banking. Like I said, I understand it's very, very difficult to get experience. So if you have at least this shows some level of commitment, and definitely this is something they're likely to ask on your CV and discuss. And if you can bring a lot of energy and bring a lot of knowledge regarding the subject, it will definitely help you stand ahead of the pack. So step 3, and I'd probably say one of the most underrated steps, is the value of networking. I think that's so important. If you think of it, investment banking essentially is a people person, and these people were once in your shoes. So just getting to know them, go into different insights. So if you're lucky enough to have investment banks recruit your university, make sure you go to these, make sure you ask questions, but don't go to them empty-handed. Make sure you do your research, understand some of the deals they have gone in. So say if a certain bank was coming to university, type them in on Google, see what they've been doing in the industry, in the space you're interested in. And if you ask insightful questions, take names, this will help you A, understand more about what you're looking to go to, and B, make a really, really good impression on the person going forward. Given what's been happening in the world, there hasn't been that many opportunities to network. So I would say an alternative to this would be, again, using LinkedIn to your advantage, using your university network to your advantage, and just emailing and contacting people, arranging a phone call, arranging a Skype meet, a Zoom meet, so that you can at least meet the person and you can reference saying your cover letter, which is part of the application process, that you have met the person. And this is definitely likely to stand you in good stead. But one of the things that investment bankers have been doing is there've been a lot of digital interviews. So this is where you're sitting in front of the camera and you're answering pre-recorded questions. I think with that, you can still definitely prepare. You can leverage the fact that you've met people and mention them in your interviews. But I think when it comes to that, it's important to really, really practice. Practice when you're walking home, practice when you're going out, practice when you're in the shower. As long as you come across genuine and you actually have good reasons as to why you're going to land, why you want to go into investment banking, it's definitely going to help you going forward. So going back to my previous point, one of the things that you really should know, and I stress this a lot, is to understand the divisions you're going into. For example, working in sales and trading is very different from investment banking, and they require two different skills. Mainly investment banking and M&A is more project related work, and you're working deals across a long period of time, and the work is quite deep and analytical. And sales and trading, although it is analytical, is more fast paced. So it's good to understand the different roles. Now, if you get why investment banking, it's really, really good for you to understand the different roles and also understand your story. So looking at your experiences that you have in your CV and relate that to why you want to enter investment banking. Also, it's really, really important to understand the firm you're applying to. So definitely look at some of the projects they've been working on, some of the deals they've been working on, some of the news articles, and also look at some of the awards they've done and say you really like this or you really like that and you want to learn more, and this is why you want to apply. So the next part of interviews is the technical element. So this, if you're applying to M&A, is more understand the accounting behind it, what the deal is, the process of the deal, valuation, so on and so forth. So you get often asked, what are the different valuation techniques? So they may ask you what a DCF is, what an LBO is, what comparable company analysis is, what gives you the highest evaluation if you had a football field. Now, this can sound quite scary, but often is the case. You just have to do your research. And for me, coming from a non-traditional background, that means I didn't study finance. I just went online. I was really, really keen to understand. I read technical guides which are available, and I really tried to understand the grips of what investment banking entailed in these technicals. And generally, some interviewers can be quite pushy on technicals, especially if you've come from a finance background. But if you don't come from a non-finance background and you do understand the technicals, that shows your eagerness to learn, and that would definitely put you in good stead. But I'd probably say I'll go into depth about the interview process more in another video, because I think it's really, really important. And I'll actually be providing via my site cover letter overviews, technical overviews, as well as behavioral and interview techniques. So stay tuned for that later on. So I would say the last and final step in order to get an investment banking is to make sure you smash your interviews. Now, this is probably one of the most important things. If you have the poise and you perform well in the interview, you give yourself the best chance of landing the job. So for most banks, especially within the UK and Europe, you generally submit an application as soon as they open. So like I said, it's important because bankers recruit on a rolling basis. This means that they review a bunch of applications when they come in, and it might be they would have given out the spaces by the time that the deadline comes. So make sure you get your application in early. So on my website, I do provide exemplar cover letters, which have performed really, really well. And I've actually got access to some of the best investment banks. So if you check the link below, you will see on my website some of the covering letters. But yeah, if you guys smash your cover letter, make sure you read it, make sure there's no mistakes. It will really help you going forward. So once you've submitted your covering letter and CV, you tend to get the opportunity to do some tests. So this could be either numerical tests or verbal tests. Now, these do sound scary, but often is the case. If you put enough practice, you'll be fine. The arithmetic is normally no more difficult than percentages and fractions. And so if you practice, you'll be absolutely fine. So make sure you get a lot of practice ahead of time. So second round interviews can be on the phone and they can be digital, but more often than not, they're normally in person. And this is likely to be with someone more senior. So this could be an associate or vice president. And again, it's really just building up on your first round interview, but they tend to go into more detail. So you could get more competency questions, but it's more often than not that you're going to get technical questions such as, walk me through a DCF, which is a valuation technique used in investment banking, or tell me about a deal that you've heard in the news, or tell me what you think the division does, or maybe tell me about the day-to-day roles. So you can get a wide array of questions. So as long as you are diligent in your preparation, you'll be absolutely fine. So the third and final round tends to be an assessment center, or at least when I was recruiting, it tends to be an assessment center. So this is where you've been successful in the previous rounds, and this is where maybe 10 or 15 of you attend the investment bank's offices, and you go through a number of series of tests, which could be written tests or case studies, to really see how you perform across the divisions. And it's really, really important for you to make a good impression, because people will be watching you. And as long as you keep your calm, you keep your cool, it's definitely going to help you going forward. So I know I've thrown a lot of information at you guys and it can be quite intimidating, But one thing I definitely wanted to tell you is sometimes in interviews, and it's happened to me, you might not actually know the answer to a question, and there could be the tendency to freeze and go under pressure. But it's really, really important just to be honest and say you don't know, but you really want to understand. Bankers are more concerned of how you handle yourself under pressure. If you take a step back and think of people at the job, right? These people are constantly interacting with high-level CEOs, government agencies, high-level corporates, and often the case is you're thrown under pressure. So if you're in that situation, as long as you maintain your cool and you're really, really open and honest, you can definitely work with the interviewer, and it won't be a problem if you don't know the answer to a question. I try to go into interviews with an open mind to really be really confident. I say to myself, I'm good enough to be here, I've got through this far, and I think it really, really goes a long way, because believe it or not, investment bankers want you really to do well. They understand the pressures, they understand how much sacrifice you've gone through to try and get to this stage. So as long as you keep a cool head, as long as you're really nice with people and show an eagerness to learn, you're definitely going to help yourself going forward, and this will definitely help you land a job. The last tip I'll give you guys is just to be yourself. There's nothing better by showing a genuine attitude and someone who's come from a diverse background. That was definitely my story. I wasn't from the traditional path. I mean, I went to a Target 6 university and I went to a good sixth form. My secondary school wasn't very good at all. I just worked hard. I showed my story, I showed myself, and I think that's something that definitely put me in good stead. Now, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's your boy Life of Soul, _Life of Soul at Instagram. If you want to get in contact and learn more about investment banking and how I balance health and fitness, be sure to follow me on Instagram, and also have a look at my website where I show insights and tips on how to balance a corporate lifestyle with health and fitness. I also have cover letters available which have done really well to perform investment banks. I do workshops on CVs if you're really interested to make sure your CV is really, really good and helps you stand out. And I also have times if you want to chat, you can book in a call for me, and we can understand your application and plan your route to success. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned, be sure to like and subscribe, and tell me what you want to see in the comments. Thank you guys, and catch you guys soon.